examinations are just around the corner, and you know what is most important? It is the practice of important questions. Just think about it. If you practice right set of questions, you can revise the whole chapter very smartly. It will definitely save your time in your exam preparation, and do you know what? It will help you to score full marks in your SST exam. So by this video of mine today, I'm going to share you some important questions from SST, and the chapters taken are particularly focusing on your half-yearly examination, because my dear class 10 students, do you know that studying everything is not important? Studying right things are important. So I just want to welcome you on the channel Diksha Vedantu, so that I can share you the important questions for half-yearly examination. I am very excited. Are you students very excited? Because this session of mine is going to be very helpful for every class 10 students here. You just need to do one thing, because this is very brand new channel of Diksha Vedantu that is particularly focusing on class 10th students, right? And everything here is taught in English. I know that you have still not subscribed the YouTube channel. Just a request from my side, subscribe the YouTube channel so that you can be notified for every important upcoming videos of our, because not only SST, here we are dealing with maths, science. You are having experience of 27 years of excellence. You can use it just by subscribing the channel. Hit the subscribe button. Now we will be moving forward with the video. So I want to tell you that half yearlies are very important, because this is just a reality check, right? It is just the teaser of our beginning. We have started our class 10th studies from April, okay, and it is September now. So from 5 months you are studying, and half syllabus will be coming in your examination, okay. I want to tell you that by the next upcoming 2 months you are going to complete your rest half of the syllabus just in 2 months, which you have completed up till now in 5 months. So this is very important that let us give our best in half yearly examination. By this video I will be giving you some important questions, and at the end I will be discussing the important topics of that chapter, so that nothing is left. So studying smartly is very important. We are going to start with history. This is task first of our video. Okay, so basically the very first chapter of your SST preparation, that is Rise of Nationalism in Europe. The chapter starts with a picture and tells you the whole story of Europe in a particular century where many nations were formed, many nations were united, and many nations led to First World War. The very first important question from this chapter is, how did the people of France develop the feeling of collective identity among its citizens? Now, you already learned about French Revolution in class 9th. Okay, and we know that in 1789 French Revolution took place in France. But now in this chapter we are talking about nationalism. That means feeling of collective belonging to a nation. You feel that this territory is mine, okay, and it is above everything. So how did the people develop the feeling of nationalism? This 7 points, just get a snap of this in your mind and do not ever forget that, because you will see this question throughout the year again and again in every examination. The idea of la patrie. Now, what is la patrie here? This is a French word which means the fatherland. Okay? And the idea of les citoyens emphasizes the notion of united community, and it promised that equal rights will be given under the constitution. We know that French society was so much divided, right, among 3 estates, in which privileges on the basis of birth was enjoyed by nobility and clergy. So now, as nationalism was demanded, as like active citizens were demanding, National Assembly was demanding for equal right, this was the most important point. People decided that this la patrie, that means the territory of France, is a land where equal rights will be given to their citizens. Okay, to emphasize more, they have made the French flag, it was tricolor, it will be replacing the former royal standard flag that used to be the flag of monarch. Okay, Bourbon dynasty. Now next important thing, the Estate General was elected by was made a body of active citizen, and it was renamed as National Assembly. You are aware that behind the French Revolution of 1789, it was only National Assembly that took the stand over here. Okay, so this body of Estate General was replaced by National Assembly. New hymns were composed, oath were taken, and martyrs commemorated. All this was done in the name of nation. Okay, whenever we sing a song, okay, whenever we take oath, so the strong feeling of nationalism emerged. So this tool was used over here. A centralized administrative system will be there so that all the territories come under one rule. Uniform laws should be applied to the whole country. There should be no division on the basis of territories within France. Get it here? Internal custom duties, that means internal taxes that were applied on the movement of goods and capital. This was abolished, and a uniform system of weight and measure was introduced. Regional dialects were discouraged, and they have done what? They have particularly encouraged the language France and made it as the common language of the nation so that people can feel united. Okay, so very important question. I'm just making you revise it within seconds. Pay attention, take your copy, try to write the keywords of this so that you can learn it. Pause the video for a while, read all the lines here, all the points here, revise it, make keywords and write it in your copy, and this will be your practice in the complete video, because by the end of this video I want this 30 questions to be marked up in your mind. Okay, so promise me that you are going to do that, and if not subscribe the YouTube channel, do it so that you can get more videos like this. Coming back to the question, first point, idea of la patrie and la citoyen was popularized. It emphasizes the notion of united community. Take it as a story. Okay. Now what we will see first, for a nation, a flag. A new tricolor French flag was made. It will be replacing the royal standard flag. Okay, which people are doing that? This is a people which are referred as National Assembly. This National Assembly replaced the prior body that was referred as Estate General. Okay, hymns were composed, oath was taken, and martyrs were commemorated, all in the name of nation. Moving further, a centralized administrative system was made so that everyone can enjoy uniform laws throughout the country. Custom duties were abolished, and very important, French language was popularized, or what we can say promoted here, discouraging the regional language. So you have learned a 5-marker question from history. I think that we should be so much energetic throughout the video, because we are going to cover 30 questions by the end of this video. Coming to the second important question from the same chapter, that is nationalism in Europe. I bet you students that this will be your question throughout the year in your paper. Whenever you will be writing it, you will be thanking that, ma'am, you have told this to us. Okay, so the second question is, how did Romanticism seek to develop a particular form of nationalist sentiments during 18th century? Okay, so basically they are talking about that, how did Romantic nationalism develop the feeling of nationalist sentiments within the people? And you have to tell it with the help of 3 examples. So okay, you have to tell it with the help of 3 examples. So the question is divided into 2 parts. Okay, pay attention. Along with these 3 examples, we are going to write an introductory line so that examiner should understand that you know the meaning of Romantic nationalism or Romanticism. Get my point? So basically, Romanticism is a cultural movement which sought to develop a feeling of nationalist sentiments. Get my point? You can also add points here, like for an example, it does not talk about It does not talk about science, reason or rationality. Okay, it does not talk about science, reason or rationality, rather focus on emotions, intuitions and mystic feelings. Get it? Mystic feelings. Now we are moving with the three examples that are very important. The first one is from Germany. Okay, the first one is from Germany. There was a what we can consider as an artist. Okay, Johann Gottfried Herder. Johann Gottfried Herder was from Germany, and he believed that the true German culture can only be discovered by its common people. Okay, the true German culture can be discovered by its common people, and he referred the common people as Das Volk. Okay, he referred them as Das Volk. Then he said that now basically among this Das Volk or common people, they need to generate the nationalist feeling. What they have done, they have popularized folk songs, okay, folk poetry and folk dances, so that true spirit of nation among the individual rises, and that was referred as Vogeist. Get my point? So what do you remember from this topic? Johann Gottfried Herder from where? Germany. What he has done? He has referred as that the feeling lies within common people. What is common people referred as? Das Volk. How he has done that? With the help of folk poetry, folk dance and folk music. Get my point? Moving to the next one, that is Karol Kurpinski. Basically, Karol Kurpinski was from Poland. Okay, and he has taken the advantage of language particularly. What he has done, he has chosen operas for music and folk dance to popularize the nationalist sentiments. Here, some examples of dance are also given, like Polonaise and Mazurka. So, one marker question can also come that what are they? These are dance forms particularly. So, second example we can give from Karol Kurpinski, and third very important, that is Greece. Okay, third very important, that is Greece. Why Greece? Because I want to tell you that basically Greece was ruled by Ottoman Empire. Okay, it was ruled by Ottoman Empire since 15th century. Sorry, it's 15th century. Okay, so since 15th century it was under a Muslim empire, and that too absolute monarchy. Now what happened? Greece people wanted independence, and the people living there in exile, right, started supporting the Greece people. Now why? They started supporting the Greece people because they understood that Greece is considered to be a cradle of European civilization, and they have sympathy for them. So now see, civilization is also culture, na? So this is how they loaded Greece as the cradle of European civilization and mobilized public opinion to support the struggle against the Muslim empire. Yes, this is also example of culture. So basically, whenever we are going to write about three examples for culture having a role in gathering nationalist sentiments among the people, you can choose these three: Johann Gottfried Herder, Karol Kurpinski and Greece. I think you are done with this question. Question number 2 from the topic nationalism in Europe. Moving to the next question, that is third question, and this is a part of a larger topic, and that topic is strange case of Britain. Okay, strange case of Britain. By this slide, I will be telling you whole strange case of Britain, but then we will focus on this particular topic. So basically, this formation of Britain is a very, very strange case, because it was not the result of any sudden upheaval or a long revolution. Then what happened in Britain? Do you know that Britain, which is today, or during the time it formed, basically there were group of isles. Okay, isle, that means island. For an example, there was Scotland, okay, where Scottish people live. Now why it was referred as Scotland? Because it is isle where a particular people having one cultural identity and a language reference live. For an example, the people who speak Scot language were referred as the land of Scotland. Okay. Similarly, Irish people where live, it was referred as Ireland. Got it? The third language was English, England, and the last was Welsh. Okay, Wales, which is now referred as. So there were 4 people. What happened? That English people gained popularity and power eventually. And gradually what they have done, they have replaced their monarchy and established English Parliament in the year 1688. Get my point? In this struggle for, like, I can't call it a struggle, but in this sequence when they collected other islands and make one nation, united nation, in that thing the first target was Scotland. Now read the question. How we can say that Scotland distinctive culture was suppressed by them? How they did it? So in the year 1707, a agreement was signed between English and Scottish people, and this was referred as Union. This was referred as Act of Union, signed in the year 1707 between English and Scotland. Now, when two nations came together, it was referred as United Kingdom. And they considered themselves as great and referred as United Kingdoms of Great Britain. See how we ourselves call us great, okay? Now, coming to the next thing, now what they have done, they have imposed their language on Scottish people, right? Like their language was not allowed to be spoken here. The country was divided into 2 groups of people, Catholics and Protestants. Okay, England was the supporter of Protestants. So this is the reason the Catholic clans that was inhabiting the Scottish Highlanders, they suffered terrible repression whenever they protested against this. Okay, so they suffered what? Terrible repression. They were forbidden to speak their language or wear their national dress. See how they are suppressing their culture. How they are suppressing their culture. This is my point over here. So we have read 3 important questions, but we know that there are so many important questions. All I can't cover in the single video. We will be doing the most important question for whole SST. Okay, so it can balance your preparation for history, civics, geography and eco. But I want to tell you this chapter have some more important points, like you read thoroughly about liberal nationalism. Okay, then go with unification of Germany. Move with unification of Italy. देखिए, all the unifications are very, very important. Germany, Italy. Go with Balkan crisis. Just learn it thoroughly. Making of Britain, Frankfurt Parliament. Role of language in nationalism. This is very, very important question. Okay. All the 7 points plus the 3 questions I just told you will be a booster for your exam preparation. So after watching this video, you can just take a copy and practice all questions smartly so that this can help you to score better in your examination. Is it okay? So we are done with one step, that is one chapter of ours from history. Are you guys excited, happy that we have completed 3 important questions? Moving towards the 4th one. How did First World War helped in the growth of national movement in India? So this is the chapter Nationalism in India. Okay, so this is the chapter Nationalism in India, and here the story begins with 1914. Okay, story begins with 1914 because before 1914 you have already learned in your class 8. Okay, they are moving ahead with 1914, and in this particular year World War I started. However, India was not actively participating in World War I, but the country that was ruling us, the colonial government we had, was participating in this First World War. Don't you think that it will impact India? Yes. Don't you think that it will impact India's economy? Yes, definitely. So the question is, how did First World War helped in the growth of nationalist movement in India? When our country was economically drained, when our country was affected negatively, the people got the chance to come together collectively to fight against the British Empire. And yes, First World War has a role in this, because this war created a new economic and political situation in India. Okay, first thing, wherever a war is fought, defense expenditure definitely increases. Okay, do you think that Britain is going to pay that expenses from their pockets? Not at all. They have colonies like India, because India had all the money that drained to Britain. Okay, so they whenever this defense expenditure in First World War was increased, they directly increased the taxes, because they want a source of revenue from India. Okay, they increased the taxes in India, they have increased all the custom duties in India, and very importantly, they introduced a new tax in India that is known as income tax. Get the point? That is known as what? Income tax. Okay. Moving towards war prices increase. Whenever there is any pandemic or any problem in the country, war or something problematic going on, the prices in the market definitely increases. You might have witnessed that in COVID right now. Okay, there was pandemic. Whenever the product in the market was low, okay, whenever the flow was low, the demand increases. That demand eventually increases the prices. Similarly, what happened in First World War, the prices got double, increases twice between 1913 to 1918, and this has affected the common people. Okay, very badly. Third point, villagers were called upon for forced recruitment. Do you know that? Villagers were forcefully taken as soldiers for First World War. Though we were not the active participants in the First World War, we fought for British government. Our Indian people were fighting for British army in First World War. So villagers were called for first recruitment between 1918 to 1990 and 1920 to 21. There was crop failure also, because see what happened when the government is focused on something other than our basic necessities, like for an example, focusing on irrigation, agriculture. So their focus decreased there and increased in First World War. So this led to crop failure. Okay, whenever there will be crop failure, there will be acute shortage of food. This acute shortage of food will increase hunger among the common people, because they are not able to afford the food. Okay, and basically it will bring condition of famine in country, and this is what happened. Right now, one more thing sparkled the situation, that was influenza epidemic. That was an epidemic in the country. Like diseases also always comes in wrong time, right? So influenza epidemic, which led to death of 12 to 13 million people, and this is why First World War has a great role in rising nationalist sentiments in India. Now, Indians were thinking that we have supported the Britishers in First World War. They will be giving us freedom after that, right? They were so positive. They were thinking that we will get freedom after this. Do you think that anything was given? Nothing. Right? Rather, the repression was brutal. The Britishers were just making policies which were not in favor of Indians. So basically, very important 5-marker question, 5 points in front of you. Remember the important points like increased defense expenditure, war prices doubled, forced recruitment was done. We have seen that crop failed, and very important, influenza epidemic that led to famine and epidemic. Clear with the 5 points? Now, see how I have learned the keywords, right? These keywords, and you will frame your own points. You will get your 5 markers. You will get your 5 marks for definite. Get the point? Moving to the next question. This is your NCERT question, I know that. But I wanted to cover 2 topics from the same question, and hence I added this. Okay? So the question is, write a newspaper report on Jallianwala Bagh massacre and Simon Commission. Okay, question is a newspaper report. So now I want to make you clear that whenever this word newspaper report comes now, do not get confused that now what we have to write, right? Do we need to write the article we are writing in English? No beta, it is SST. Consider it as write a short note on Jallianwala Bagh massacre and Simon Commission. Okay, I have written it in points. You can either choose to write in points or paragraph 2, depending upon the question, number of question. Okay, the marks of question. Okay, come on, let us study first the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So we know that Rowlatt Act was passed by government hurriedly, and they said that the political prisoners, okay, will be arrested without any trial for 2 years. As a result of that, Gandhiji passed Rowlatt Satyagraha. As soon as Rowlatt Satyagraha was started, what happened? There was violence, and in Punjab particularly, the violence were more. Due to this, British government applied martial law in that Punjab region, particularly Amritsar. Okay, now but this information was not given to everyone. The common people or the villagers that live nearby the Amritsar was not aware of that. What happened on 13th of April? It was day of Baisakhi. Okay, 13th of April, it is day of Baisakhi. People gathered here to celebrate the Baisakhi fair. Okay, however, some came for protest also, we agree that. Now what happened, a person was given the charge of this martial law, that was General Dyer, D-Y-E-R. Okay, he entered, blocked the only exit and started open firing, right? And many, like more than 500 people were killed during this incident. No exact number is given because Britishers give us a fake number and Indians give us a different number. Okay, so more than 500 people were killed here. Indians' reactions were such that crowds came on street. Exactly, the whole nation will be stunned after this incident. Okay, so the crowd came on street. Government buildings were attacked and strike was done throughout the country. But what happened this time? It was brutal and very bad repression by government. They terrorized the people, humiliated the people on roads. Okay, they forced the people to rub their noses. They asked the people to say Salam Sahib to them. Okay, they asked the people to walk on their knees on the road, and this was what done. They started what we can say fogged the people. They were treating the people as flog, okay, and villages were bombed here. So this is what a note on Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Have those points, you will get a good marks. Moving towards the next one, that is Simon Commission. Okay, now what is Simon Commission? Pay attention, right? Basically this commission came for one important task. Okay, what was the task? To do constitutional development in the country, to suggest what we can say constitutional development in the country. Okay, this commission was formed in the year 1927 in London. It was formed in the year 1927 in London. Who headed the commission? It was Sir John Simon, on whose name it is referred as Simon Commission. Okay, now what happened? It came to India, it reached India in the year 1928. So, pay this difference of years, attention to this. It came to India in 1928 under Sir John Simon to look into constitutional development in India. But very strange thing is here. They are going to make the constitution for India. Okay, they will be suggesting the constitutional development for India, but the members within this committee was only Britishers. Okay, do you know how many members were there? There were total 7 members in the commission, and no single Indian committee, no single Indian member was there. The people were so much infuriated by this act of Britishers. Okay, They came on the streets. When the Simon Commission came, the people greeted with the slogan, Simon, go back. You might have heard it, okay? And the people like welcomed it with black flags as a matter of resistance here. So this is what about Simon Commission, and this is the 5th question of ours. We have completed. Moving towards the next task, next step of our today's video, that is question number 6. Write a short note on Salt March. Very, very important. Now see, Salt March, okay, and whole movement on just a small material, that is salt, namak. Right? How can we start a movement on just a small issue? Now, this is very grateful of Gandhiji that he always chose to do what? He always chose to convert a local issue into a national issue. Okay? Question can also come here like this, that why salt was chosen as a symbol of resistance. This I am giving you as homework, okay, because I want you to answer it. This is a 2-marker question. This is a 2-marker question from my side. I want you to answer it. Why salt was chosen? It was chosen to make the local issue to the national issue. I gave you 1 point, add 1 more point so that you can get 2 marks, full 2 marks in it. Now coming back to the Salt March. So basically what happened now? In Indian National Congress, all the local and radical leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose wanted to start a national movement in India, and they referred it as civil disobedience movement. They urged Gandhiji lead this movement because at the high time it is that we need to start the movement, okay? So Gandhiji said that, okay, I am preparing a list of 11 demands. Pay attention. I am preparing the list of 11 demands and sending it to Lord Irwin, who was the Viceroy of India at that time, sending it to Lord Irwin. If he has accepted it till 11th of March, then it is fine. If not, we will be launching a CDM, that is Civil Disobedience Movement. And very obvious is Irwin denied to accept this 11 demands. They were so basic demands, and among them, one such demand was to end that inhuman tax on salt and give the right of making of salt to Indian peoples as well. Okay, up till now what happened? Salt was only made by Britishers on Indian land. They had the monopoly to trade with salt. They have the monopoly to make the salt as well. So now Gandhiji came in mode, okay. Started Salt March from 12th of March. He started Salt March from 12th of March. See how rhyming it is. Salt March from 12th of March. Started by Gandhiji and 78 of his volunteers. This was started from his ashram, that is Sabarmati ashram, and they went to Dandi. Dandi is basically a port town in Gujarat. Okay, this is a port town in Gujarat. They walked for 240 miles where many volunteers joined that march. They started it with 78, but later many of them joined. And this was for 24 days, basically 10 miles a day. So this march ended on 6th of April. This Salt March ended on 6th of April. Gandhiji reached Dandi, violated the salt law, made salt by boiling the water in a pan, okay? And this is how they have done the disobedience of civil laws. That means laws made by the government for the people. And hence this was known as civil disobedience movement. Okay, so this was the next question, next important question from the chapter Nationalism in India. Moving to the last important question of this chapter, very, very important. You will see this throughout your question paper. Name the social group that participated in the non-cooperation movement. Explain in detail any 3 of them. Now, I have just written the name of the social groups. I'll be telling you about each of them. I want you to explain any 3 of them. Okay? I'll just give you a brief of this non-cooperation movement basically. So, Non-cooperation movement was started as the basis of three things. Okay, Rowlatt Act passed, Rowlatt Satyagrah failed, hence the demand was here. Then we wanted a justice in Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Okay, and the third and the important thing, that was demand of Swaraj. Third and the important thing, that was demand of Swaraj. So as the basis of this three thing, we have started the non-cooperation movement. Okay, who were the participants? Now in the towns, okay, in the towns there were middle class people who were participating it. Okay, what they have done, basically, this middle class people left there, the students left their schools and colleges. Okay, lawyers left going to their law courts. Get it? They boycotted foreign goods. Okay, bonfire on foreign clothes, started using khadi. So this was act of resistance by middle class participants in the town. Okay, I have given you the explanation of the same here. Moving to the next one here, that is peasants in countrysides. Now pay attention, this question can come in two format. Name the social group that participants were there in non-cooperation movement. We can name them directly and then explain about them. But one more type of question can be here, how the word Swaraj was interpreted differently here. How the word Swaraj was interpreted differently by each of the social group, because for none of them, Swaraj was same. Like if we talk about peasants in the countryside, what they wanted, right? Like we are here particularly talking about the region Awadh. They wanted to get themselves free from the system of begar. Okay, what is begari? That they were working without any payment. Okay, the tenants here who were given the lands wanted security of lands. Okay, they wanted reduction in revenue. So this was Swaraj for them, not independence. Getting my point? Same with tribals. If we talk about tribals, tribal enjoy all the rights over their land. Okay, basically it was their traditional right over the land, the forest. Britishers came and introduced some forest laws which took all their rights of grazing, all their rights of having forest to produce. So now they were demanding that basically we wanted Swaraj. We wanted the right over this forest because this is our products. Okay, so this is how tribals in Gudam Hills of Andhra Pradesh took the charge. Here you can also mention the person, Alluri Sitaram Raju, the role of him. Okay, moving to the last one, that is plantation workers. So basically plantation gardens was there for commercial crops, for growing of commercial crops, particularly tea gardens was there. So in the year 1859 they have implemented a law. Okay, what was that? Inland Immigration Act. Inland Immigration Act. According to this act, no person was allowed to leave the tea gardens. Workers were not allowed to leave the tea gardens without the wishes of Britishers. Will they wish them to leave? No. So they were treated as bonded labor. They also wanted Swaraj. They wanted that British Raj should be replaced with Gandhi Raj. See how key terms I am using here. Okay, only key terms I am using here. Pay attention to these key terms and write your answers. So we are done with the 7th question in the line and the second chapter of our half yearly syllabus. See how we have completed 2 chapters from the list of 10 chapters. Moving towards with the important topic, impact of First World War, what we have completed. particularly pay focus on what is satyagraha. Okay, what is satyagraha? And a 3-marker question can come. What are the early satyagraha of Gandhi ji? Okay, early satyagraha of Gandhi ji. Read this thoroughly. That is non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, and an important question, that is sense of collective belonging. Here we can use the example of folklore, national flag, okay, folk songs here. We can see how reinterpretation of history helped in such thing. So this is how we are completed with history. But still we have one chapter pending, and that is making of global world. This is very easy chapter. Hold on, because I am going to give you some topics and I am going to give you a surety that nothing will come out of this. Be sure about this, because this is the chapter in which CBSE has also deleted major portion. Okay, only 3 topics are coming, that is 1.1, 1.2 and 1.3. Some important topics are there from this chapter, and we are going to talk about the first important question, that is the Silk routes are good example of pre-modern trade and cultural links between different part of the world. Explain with the help of example. So what happened that, just see here, basically this was Europe, okay, and this was what we can say part of Eurasia. I am considering it as Russia, and then part of Asia. So when Europe was connected with China, okay, Europe was connected with China, there was multiple routes connecting it, okay, multiple roads, and that was referred as Silk Route, because it initially started with the trade of silk from China to Europe, okay, as a luxury cloth that moved from China to Europe. So how it led to the exchange of trade plus exchange of culture. 2 words are here, trade and culture. So historians have identified that the Silk Route, okay, over the land, it is land route, okay, connected vast region of Europe and Asia and Northern Africa as well. Okay, it is referred as Silk Route because we can say that silk cargoes from China were taken from this route to Europe. Along with this, not only the single product, later Chinese pottery was traded, and via the same route there were certain textile and spices which were taken from India and Southeast Asia, and that reached to Europe from the same route itself. So this we see as trade. Other than that, Europe is also paying in return to that. That payment was done in precious metal like gold and silver. So basically at this time, the precious metal flowed from Europe to Asia. Okay. Along with this, there was also influence of culture on the common people, because whenever people are connecting, okay, they are interconnecting with each other, it definitely leads a cultural impact on other. So here we can see that Christian missionaries came, due to which Christianity increased in Asia. Muslim people came here, due to which Islam was introduced here. Not only and everything was like introduced to Asia, rather from Asia, Buddhism reached to Europe. Okay, it was spread in several directions via the same route, that is Silk Route. So yes, Silk Route has a very, very important role. This is first and the most important question. This is definitely going to come. Next is traders and travelers introduced new crops to land and they traveled. Okay, now what we can see right now in every part of India, not only Indian foods, we can witness the food from the parts of world. Okay, so this might never happen in a single day. Okay, it is because of several years of interaction between one countries to another, right? The potato, which is one among the important food in our diet, was not originated in India. The tomato, which we add in every vegetable we are preparing at our home, that was also not from India. So we need to learn the journey, that how these travelers brought new crops to India. Okay, so we will talk about the example directly. Let us take the example of spaghetti and noodles. Okay, it is believed that noodles traveled west from where? China. From China. China mein in China, it was referred as what? Noodles. It reached to Europe and was referred as, converted to spaghetti. Arab travelers took pasta to 5th century Sicily. Now pasta, what we considered right now, it is an Italian dish, okay? But do you know that in Italy also it came by Arab travelers? Most of our common food like potatoes, soya, groundnut, maize, tomato, chili, sweet potatoes, all these were like bought from Europe to Asia. Mark my words, it was brought from Europe to Asia. But do you know that it was not originated in Europe? Rather, it was originated found in America, and it was Christopher Columbus who discovered that area, who found that area and brought it to Europe. Then Europe introduced it to Asia. So this is how food traveled from one place to another. These were two important questions from the same chapter. Other than that, I want to tell you that how disease led to conquest. Okay, so basically here they are talking about Spain, disease that was spread in Spain, and that disease was smallpox. With the help of this disease, how Portuguese conquered the region, this is the question asked. This is basically 1.3 of the chapter making of global world. You just need to have a reading of this and you will get it. Okay, how new food crops led to question of life and death. Now, how does new food crops led to the question of life and death? They are talking about potato here. Okay, so these two topics and this 4 question will help you to complete this chapter. Now we are moving with 1 steps. Now see, 80 marks will be coming. Now see, 80 marks are the total marks in your examination. Okay, 20 from history, and we have completed important questions for that 20 parts. Okay, for that 20 marks. Do not forget to do map work from the chapter Nationalism in Europe. There are some important locations, because what we need to do, we need not to locate that. We need just to identify them. Okay, I am giving you the list of some important map work from Nationalism in India that is definitely going to come. That is, you need to identify Calcutta. You need to identify Nagpur, and then you need to identify Madras. Okay, why this? Because a session of INC happened here in September 1920, here in December 1920, and here in 1927. Other than that, you need to identify the location where Jallianwala Bagh massacre happened, and it is definitely Amritsar in Punjab. Okay, where did Chauri Chaura incident happened? This is in UP. Okay, and Dandi, this is in Gujarat, and it is related to the Salt March. So this is what the map work, with the help of which you are going to score 2 mark question. Okay, do not forget to do that. Now we will move to civics, task 2 of this video. Okay, power sharing, the very easy and the very important question chapter of our syllabus. First question, what are the different form of power sharing in modern democracies? Beta, take this as a surety. Throughout the year, this question will be part of your examination. What are the different forms of power sharing in modern democracies? Take a snap, just learn it thoroughly right now. Take a paper, write the answer right now, so that you can also practice with learning too. Okay, so basically power sharing was done among 4 forms. First is among organs of government. We know that there are 3 organs of government: legislature, executive and judiciary. Okay, legislature, executive and judiciary. This type of settlement is based upon separation of powers, like legislature will make the law, executive will execute it, and the judiciary will uphold it. It is separation of power, and it is based on the system of checks and balances. Now what you need to remember, separation of power between three organs: legislature, executive and judiciary. What it is based on? Checks and balances. Story, the second one is among levels of government. Now levels of government, okay? So there are three levels of government, that is central government, state government and then the local government, and this form of power sharing is also referred as federal form of power sharing. Moving to the next one, among different social groups in society, there are particular groups speaking different languages, following different culture, having their different traditions, okay? So power should be shared among them, and this is what done in Belgium. So we can give the example of community government in Belgium. And the last and the important, that is among political parties, pressure groups and movement, okay? So we know that among political parties, power is shared because now there is what we can say popularity of coalition government. What is coalition government? When two or more than two political parties come together to form the government, they are definitely sharing the power. Other than that, we can see several interest groups within our country. Like trade unions are formed whenever any law or anything is passed by the government that is going against their trade or it is barrier for them. So they unite and protest. So what they are doing? They are sharing power in the democracy. Okay, and there are certain pressure groups that pressurize the government continuously to follow the policy or to make the new one. So there are four forms in which modern democracies power can be shared: organs of government, levels of government, among social groups, and the last one among political parties, pressure groups and movement. I think that by this method you are going to score full marks, not scroll, because you are definitely scrolling Instagram throughout the day. This is the high time to score full marks, not score Instagrams. Next question, describe the way in which power can be shared among different social group in Belgium. Now see, what we have done, we have taken a question that yes, power can be shared among different social group. How? You need to tell it with the help of the example of Belgium. So in Belgium, we know that because of language differences and regional differences, civil crisis started. Okay, they understood the problem and solved it by bringing changes to their constitution, right? By bringing changes to their constitution between the year 1970 to 1993. If you have watched my video of power sharing, you can answer this question: how many times they have made amendment in their constitution? I want that in your comment section. Okay. Moving to the first point here, in their constitution, the first provision was added that the number of Dutch and the French speaking ministers will be equal in the central government. Okay. What constitution prescribed that there will be equal number of ministers from both the language communities. Good enough. Now many powers were shared from central to state government. Many powers were shared from central to state government so that state government will no longer be subordinate to the central government. Okay. Now you are not no longer my bada bhai. You are my bhai. Equal weightage we are having. Okay. Brussels will have a separate government because this is capital, and here also both the communities will have equal representation. And very important, a new initiative, a third kind of government in Belgium, that is community government. Okay, this is community government. And now why was it important? Because to this community government, powers were given that, first of all, this community government was for different communities living here. For an example, a government for Dutch, okay, the government for French people and the government for German people. All these three communities living have different government, and they have the power to make laws on the issues of their culture, education and language. Pause for a minute, read the points, revise it thoroughly, because question can come from this topic, and this is also known as accommodation in Belgium. Okay, see how they have changed the format of the question to just make you confused, but do not get confused because we have solved it at Diksha Vedantu. Moving to the important points of this chapter: ethnic composition of Belgium, go it thoroughly. Accommodation, ethnic composition of Sri Lanka. For 3 marker, very important question: what are the majoritarian measures taken in Sri Lanka? Prudential reasons of adopting power sharing and moral reasons for the same. Last but not the least, very important topic, that is forms of power sharing. We just did it. I just want you to go all the topics so that you can score full marks. Okay. Moving to the next chapter, that is federalism, and I know that is definitely a tough task for all my class 10 students. But don't worry, the first and important and most important question to come in your exam is, what are the different features of federalism? Now pay attention. First, we should know what is federalism. If any of my student is still not aware what is federalism, I want to tell you that. Now, it is a form of power sharing, okay? It is a form of power sharing in which power is shared between central government and its constituent units, in which power is shared between the central government to its constituent units. Now, what happened in this? There are 2 or more than 2 levels of government. Now, see it as a story, okay? There are 2 or more than 2 levels of government. For an example, central government, state government, local government, okay? Once this government is divided, now their work may also be divided. So all these different tiers of government, however, govern the same citizen, but they have their own jurisdiction. That means they have their own work area. The area where they will be working and what they will be working for. For an example, local government look after the drainage facility in the city, okay, the sewage facility. Will central government do that? No, because it comes under the jurisdiction of local government. So all these 3 different government has their own jurisdiction, okay. Who gave them this jurisdiction? Basically, it is mentioned in the constitution. Where it is mentioned? Constitution, okay. Can we change this jurisdiction unilaterally? No. So basically, this is fundamental provision of our constitution and it cannot be changed unilaterally. What if there is any dispute among them? Then the highest court will interpret the constitution and solve if any issue is found here. Okay. Now all these 3 levels of government are going to work because they are government and it is made by the people for the work. Okay, so for the work where they will get the money, so in our constitution the source of revenue is also given. Okay, the source of revenue for all the tiers of government is mentioned in the constitution so that they can get financial autonomy. Okay, so that they can get what? Financial autonomy. I have just used the keywords. Pay attention, we are revising it again in minute. 2 or more than 2 levels of government. All the levels of government have their own jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is specified in the constitution. Court has the final authority to interpret that constitution. Okay. Next one is basically their source of revenue is listed in the constitution, which gives them financial autonomy. And here you have learned very important question of federalism. Moving to the next one. Right, 5 provisions of Constitutional Amendment of 1992 that has strengthened the 3rd tier of democracy in India. Explain. Okay. Now, the student might here get confused that what happened in 1992. Because now you need to remember, if you have read the chapter, then there is no issue. Okay. What happened in 1992? Basically, it was referred as decentralization. Okay, it is referred as decentralization when power is taken from central government and given and given to local government, then it is known as decentralization, and India has done that in 1992. In the original constitution, we merely had 2 levels of government, and now in the year 1992, by 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, we have added third tier of government. Okay, third tier of government, that was panchayat and municipality. Okay, that is panchayat and municipality. Let us talk about the features of that. Basically, these are the 5 provisions of constitutional development that has strengthened the 3 tier of government. Explain. Okay, so the points here are wrong. I am going to give you this answer in the slide here. Okay, don't go with that points. That is the answer to the prior question. We made a mistake over here. I'm going to give it. So in 1992, what changes were there? Okay, the first and the most important change is it is now constitutionally mandatory to hold elections in local self-government. Okay, we call it what? Local self-government. Now it became constitutionally mandatory that you need to hold the elections, okay, after every 5 years. Okay, in this elections seats will be reserved for SC, ST and OBC. Okay, ST, SC and OBC. Other than that, there are seats. How many seats? 1/3 seats that were reserved for women. Get my point? Fourth and the important point here is that for this purpose, a separate state election commission will be formed. Okay, for this purpose, a separate state election commission will be formed. And the last and the very important point, source of revenue will be given for local self-government. That will give again what? Financial autonomy, so that they can work effectively. This is the 5 points about the changes brought in 1992. If someone asks you what is decentralization, what are the features of the same, give this point. How it has been introduced, give this point. What are the what are the changes adopted in the year 1992, give this point. Okay, moving to the next one. So we have done this, I have corrected this. Okay, pay attention. What makes India a federal country? Okay, so in our constitution, very important, in our constitution, 3-fold distribution of power is given. Now what is federal? Again, federal is what? Separation or what? No, not separation particularly. Federal is basically division of powers, okay, among the central, state and the local government. So initially when the constitution was made, there was 2 levels of government. They have done what? They have made a 3-fold distribution of legislative power, law making power between the union and state. We know that, and we know that India is a federal country, but India is a quasi-federal country particularly. Center is little powerful in India. Let us talk about it. So they have done it with the help of list. Okay, list has been made. Subjects are added that this work will be done by this government. The first list is known as union list. It includes the subjects of national importance, which are important for nation. Whenever a subject is important for nation, who will make the law? It will be the union government that makes the law. What are the topics of national importance? Like defense of India. Okay, if we give defense to the state, each state of India will be fighting to each other. Getting my point? Hence, defense of the country should be in the hand of central government. Foreign affairs should be in the hand of central government. Currency. Imagine every state of India has its own currency. Will it be a blunder? Yes. So there are subjects of national importance to be legislated by union government. Similarly, there are state lists in which subjects of states and local importance are mentioned, like police, trade, commerce and agriculture. And state government can alone make the law in that perspective. The third one here is concurrent list. Now, there were certain matters of common interest in which state should also have its say and center should also have its say. So in this, both the union and the state government can make law, such as education, forest, trade unions, marriage, adoption, etc. Now, but if both the levels of government will be making the laws, then now there will be a fight. In case of any dispute between the two levels of government, the union government will prevail. Who will prevail? Keep it in mind, union government will prevail because it is more powerful in comparison to state. And there are certain subjects which could not have added in the list because at that time internet was not there, AI was not there. Many subjects which can be introduced in the society later, they added it to residuary subjects, and in these matters union government will make the laws. They will legislate. Okay. This is what makes India a federal country, but beside this there are important topics like we have read about features of federalism, we have read about what makes India a federal country, but now how is this federalism practiced in India? Okay, how is this federalism practiced in India? In that you need to study about linguistic states. Okay, then you go with language policy, and the third one, that is center-state relations. Here they will talk about coalition, okay, coalition government. Three very, very important topic you need to cover thoroughly. And the last and not the least, decentralization. We have discussed it, but whenever you are studying decentralization, I would suggest you divide it into three subheadings. First is its definition, then what was the need of decentralization in India, and then the changes of brought by 1992 Amendment Act. Get the point? This is how you will be completing the next chapter of civics. Now see how smoothly we are moving to the next topic, next chapter, that is gender, religion and caste. I know every student is going to have this chapter in your exam, and you know what, this is so general chapter, what you are witnessing around you, right? What is reality? So the first and the important question for 5 marks, 5 point are here. What are the ways through which women are being discriminated since years? Okay. So women are discriminated in following ways. First is literacy rate. We can give the example of exact literacy rate in India, which has a vast difference among women, that is 54%, and men, that is 76%. We know that there is not equal pay. However, the constitution provides the provision for the same. Even an act was passed, that was Equal Enumeration Act, which says that there should be equal pay for both men and women. Okay. However, we know that in India, women have less pay scale as well as less respect. Sex ratio, when we talk about that, so basically in general in India, there are 919 girls above 1000 boys. However, there are still the regions in India which are still below 850 mark. Okay, so this reflects us that basically the sex abortions take place, right? Selective sex abortion takes place before the deliveries. Moving to the next, that is domestic violence, which is the part of India. It is very harsh reality that harassment, exploitation and violence against the women in domestic sphere by the in-laws, or the last and the most important, that is representation of women in politics. So as we can see around us that the representation, we are not succeeded with increasing the representation of women in the politics, because you can see the data, right? It is just 14.36% in the last Lok Sabha elections, okay? And if we talk about, basically the data here is of 219. If I tell you the reality, it has increased a little bit to 16% in the last Lok Sabha election. And if we talk about the legislative assembly elections and we calculate the average, it is merely 5%. Okay, so this is how women have been discriminated since years, converted into subheadings like literacy rate, unequal pay, sex ratio, domestic violence and women political rights. Get my point? Okay, very important 3-marker question. What make India a secular country? Now, what is being secular? Secular is that we do not have any official religion. Okay, India do not have any official religion. It do not force individuals of India to follow forcefully any religion. Rather, we are free to follow that. Okay, but now this is your exam. You need to write the keywords of constitution, which is given in your NCERT. First question, the constitution provides to all the individuals that everyone is free to profess. Okay, like professors, what do? They teach you, na? So to teach the religion, okay, to profess, to practice and to propagate, to spread the religion. Not forcefully, but, okay. Even you have the choice that you don't want to follow any religion, that is also totally your choice and freedom. So first point, constitution provides a right to profess, practice and propagate or not to follow any religion. Second important point, it prohibits discrimination on the grounds of religion. No citizen will discriminate the other on the grounds of religion. Pay attention, they can strictly take the action against this. At the same time, government allows the state. State here means government, okay? Government allows the state to intervene in the matters of religion in order. Now, pay attention. Whenever we use the word secularism in the class 8, we said that the state should not intervene. Okay, now here India is what special or what, right? Nothing special, but India says that in matters where there is relevance, we can intervene because it is very important. For an example, India was following untouchability since ages. It is part of religion. If the state would not have this right, how could we abolish it? So, in that cases, the state should have the right to intervene in the limited sphere, okay, whenever required. 3 points, what makes India a secular state. I'm just moving to important points, like ways by which we have done. Important point is communalism and politics, okay. Next is caste in politics and politics in caste. Both have a difference. You can read the chapter thoroughly with these 4 important topics and the 2 questions we have discussed right now. I bet you everything will be done, okay. Pay more attention to both of these points, okay. If not get, then watch my one-shot explanation. You are going to get it. Important questions from geography, and we have moved. I'm very happy whenever we are moving to the next slide because I want this video so useful to you. Okay, I don't want to just waste your time before half yearly examination. I want that within this 30 question, at least 15 plus should be there, okay, and I have prepared it keeping in mind the same thing. We are moving to the important questions from geography, task number 3, and pay attention that geography has one more benefit, that is map work, and it gives you 3 marks. So the race from the question answer is for the remaining 17 marks, and we are going to get all the 17 marks by practicing all the important questions. And question number 1 is, what are the steps taken for resource planning in India? This I have seen so multiple times in exam. Okay, what we have seen that we are using the resources indiscriminately. Now it is the high time that we have to make it sustainable. For making it sustainable, we need to convert this indiscriminate use of resources to judicious use of resources. But how you are going to do that? Okay, so it has 3 simple steps. First, you need to identify and invent your resources, that how many resources are there in country and where they are. You're going to do this with the help of survey, mapping, qualitative and quantitative analysis. Once done, now if we have multiple resources, we will think that let us use them. Okay, let us use this, that, without making a planning structure, and we will leave the world with no resources for our future generation. Hence step number 2 is very important, to make a planning structure and identify which technology we do have, which skills are important to make it useful, and this is how you will make a developmental plan. Very important. Now it should match with the nation's development plan. For an example, you are living in Jharkhand and you have country's 80% of coal reserves. Okay, you owe it. You considered it as for Jharkhand and you started using it in a manner that these reserves are only for Jharkhand. But you know that the coal reserves will be used by the rest of country as well. So that resource development plan should also match with the nation's development plan. It should also match with the nation's development plan. Moving to the next question, which soil is? Now see how they have just tested your mind that which soil is the most fertile soil found in India. Now we have total 6 soils in India. We have total 6 soils in India. We need to identify which is the most fertile soil, and there is no doubt that here we are going to talk about which soil. We are going to talk about alluvial soil. Look, I have not even mentioned the word alluvial because I want to know that by this question you are getting click that this is alluvial soil or not. Okay, so yes guys, this is alluvial soil. Whenever I am teaching you geography, okay, I am just telling you that convert it into sub points, beta. This is just going to help you throughout your journey. I have done what? I have converted it into sub points. I'll talk about formation of soil here. Then we will move with the areas of soil where it is found, composition, classification of soil if given in textbook, features of the soil and the crops grown in this soil. Okay, with the help of these 5 points, you need to learn all the 6 soils. Okay, make a chart, paste it in front of your table and just learn it whenever you are free. Okay, so by this will very helpful for you for 1 marker, for 2 marker, 3 marker, as well as for 5 marker. You can say 6 points are there. How will examiner deduct your marks? No worries. Okay, go through it. It is formed by the interplay of 3 major rivers, Ganga, Indus and Brahmaputra. Majorly it is found in northern plains, okay, or in the areas of, like, it is just a narrow belt between Gujarat and Rajasthan, or it is found in eastern coastal plains. This is very fertile soil because it has adequate proportion of phosphoric acid, potash and lime. Okay, adequate proportion of phosphoric acid, potash and lime. It is divided into Khadar and Bangar, that is new alluvium and this is old alluvium. We have read this in 9th class. Features, it is highly fertile soil. When it is highly fertile, everyone wants to cultivate there because it is intensely cultivated and the population will be densely settled over there. Features, see, I have just used here keywords. Wheat, paddy, sugarcane, cereals and pulses are grown in this region. Okay, moving with the important topics of resource and development. The first one, which I already told you, that is resource planning in India. Now in this resource and development, they have dealt with two resources. Okay, one is land and the other is soil. You need to just mug up with these two topics. Okay, in land, particularly focus on land use pattern in India, then go with land degradation and land conservation. And again, I am repeating it, just make a chart for all the map works. Okay, sorry, 6 soil of India, it even have a map work. You can do that too. Okay, end the chapter with soil erosion and soil conservation. Get my point? Okay, now we are moving to question number 19, and the question is, what are the steps taken by Government of India particularly for the conservation of forest and wildlife? So this is from the second chapter of geography, that is forest and wildlife. In the initial few pages of chapter, it gives you a brief description that India is basically a hub of environment, a hub of ecology, okay? And we are just using it indiscriminately. So basically after independence, the government has taken various steps for the conservation. This is a 5-marker question for you, and the points are as follows. First point here, between the time of 1960s to 1970s, right, there was huge demand in the nation to the government that we should present a wildlife protection program. Okay, so all the activists who wanted to conserve the forest and wildlife started this demand and for a nation wildlife protection program. Okay, in response to this, in the year 1972, okay, in response to this, in the year 1972, the government passed the Indian Wildlife Protection Act, and this act has become a turning point for the protection. Okay, so they have presented Indian Wildlife Protection Act in the year 1972. To pursue this act, the central government and the state government established various national parks and wildlife sanctuary. So we all know that how in national parks and wildlife sanctuary, the animals, the wild animals as well as forest also, okay, which is considered as reserved forest, protected forest. So how they are being conserved? The central government took a step that national park should be formed, wildlife sanctuary should be established here. Even not enough with this, then central government has presented separate projects for the animals which are being continuously like getting endangered or getting vulnerable. So now several projects were introduced like for specific animals, Project Tiger, Project Rhino, we have Project Elephant and many more. Okay, we have Project Hangul, Kashmir Stag, that is. In notification of Wildlife Protection Act of 1980 and 1986, now what they have done, pay attention. We know that the changes are being like only constant, okay. So after this, they have brought changes to this Wildlife Protection Act, particularly in the year 1980 and 1986 to add more varieties of species like butterflies, moth, dragonflies. Okay, so they were also added, and very important, in 1991 for the first time they have added plants also in this list. Okay, question for 5 marks, first point. Now in 1960s and 1970s, there were several activists that demanded a wildlife protection program. In response to this, in the year 1972, second point, government presented what? Indian Wildlife Protection Act. Under this act, there was also plans that central government and state government will form national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. Now, see, the first important point, the keyword is role of activist. Okay, second one is Indian Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Third is establishment of national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. Okay, fourth is projects like Project Tiger, Project Rhinos. Fifth is more species were added by the amendment of 1980 and 1986. And the last and the very important plants were also added in the list. So this is how we have completed one more question. We are moving to 20 question of the day. See students how we have completed and reached to the 20th question of the day. By this video, you have completed 20 important questions going to come in your examination. The question is, this is a permanent question in your exam. What is role of communities in the conservation of forest and wildlife in India? Now, we know that Indians are very much attached to their living space, right? There are tribal people who considered their forest as their homeland, right? We Indians also worship the forest and wildlife too. We consider mountains as God, forest as God, like plants as God, and animals too. So, we know that yes, Indian community has very great role in the conservation of forest and wildlife in India. 5 points where this role has been seen in India. The first one is in Sariska Tiger Reserve. Okay, this Sariska Tiger Reserve is in Rajasthan. What they have done, the government wanted some space in the forest for mining activity, so they started cutting the forest. In this Sariska Tiger Reserve, the people of Rajasthan, the people of village came together that we will not allow mining in this place, citing the Wildlife Protection Act passed by the government. So see there how a government action is repressed by a government action, and very great role played by them. The second one is again in Rajasthan, in the Alwar district of Rajasthan. Okay, where it is? In the Alwar district of Rajasthan, there were 5 villages. How many villages? 5 villages that declared 1,200 hectares of forest land. Okay, now what they have done in the areas which was forest land, they declared it as Bhairav Dakkav Sanctuary. So basically they designated that area as sanctuary, okay, and they named it as Bhairav Dakkav Sanctuary, declaring that there will be their own sets of rules and regulation to be followed in this area, and they will not accept the interference of any authority outside, either it be government of India. So this is a very good step taken by the community, because the community have a very strong belief for forest conservation. Okay, getting my point? Third and the very important popular one, you are being hearing this since childhood, that is Chipko movement. Okay, so this Chipko movement is famous in Himalayan region, and they have successfully resisted deforestation. When authorities came to cut the forest, they stood by the forest that if you are going to cut the trees, you need to cut our bodies also. Okay, I want you in the comment section to comment me that which personality is associated with Chipko movement, because we have read it multiple times since ages. Okay, do that. Question, point number 4, one Beej Bachao Andolan. Basically, beej is like, we are here talking about diversified seeds and to protect it. Okay, now a new culture has been added, that chemical oriented or gene specified, gene modified seeds are introduced in the market, but they want that there should be no change in the diversified crop production in that area, particularly chemical seeds should not be added. Okay, so the farmers and the citizens, they have a group like Beej Bachao Andolan. They started this Andolan in Tehri. Okay, so this is Tehri. Tehri is in Uttarakhand, and Navadnya. They have showed adequate levels of diversified crop production without the use of any synthetic chemicals. So in that area, there are so much of crop production, but no chemical is being used in that. And the 5 and the most important point, that we treat our forest as forest, not only forest, but we treat our forest and animals as sacred groves. Now what is sacred groves here? Basically, when we considered it as so sacred or holy that we will never ever degrade it. Okay, we will never cut the forest because we find it homely. Okay, we worship it. For an example, we have an example of black bugs worshipped by Bishnoi community that lives in Rajasthan. For example, we have seen that in Indian house, every Indian house in the evening, we pay our offerings to Tulsi. Okay, that plant of Tulsi. So similarly, it is considered as a sacred groves. These are the 5 points that can give you 5 marks. What is the role of community in the conservation of forest and wildlife? Pay attention. First, Sariska Tiger Reserve. Second, Alwar district, where 1200 hectares of land was considered as protected. Chipko movement, particularly in Himalayas, Beej Bachao Andolan in Tehri, and the last but not the least, that is sacred groves. Moving further with the important topic topics of this forest and wildlife because this is very, very important. So we will talk about the destruction of forest and wildlife that is given in the initial pages of the chapter. You just need to have a reading. It will hardly take 10 minutes, okay? Then move with the conservation of forest and wildlife. In this, the question can come, what are the steps taken by the government for the conservation of forest and wildlife in India? Third is types and distribution of forest. Here they will be talking about protected forest, okay? Then it is reserved forest and then the unclassed forest. Then move with community and conservation. We just did it, and a very, very important topic, that is JFM, Joint Forest Management. I bet you if you are studying wholeheartedly for this chapter and focusing on these important points, it nearly needs 20 minutes to complete this chapter thoroughly, okay? Get my point? Moving towards the 21st chapter. Again, geography, and do you know this chapter holds the highest weightage of geography? If someone asks me, ma'am, which is the most important chapter of geography, I'll just answer water resource. And do you know the most important question is this? Okay, so water resource, we will see that dams were considered as temples of modern India by our Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India. Okay, he considered that rather than making temples, rather than making masjids, we should focus on what will boost our economy, and that was dams. Now, dams have various, what we can say, positive effects. Okay, the dams construction gives us many positives to the economy, but it also brings some negatives along. Now, question is this multi-purpose projects. Basically, here the multi-purpose projects are the construction of dams, okay? These multi-purpose projects and large dams have come under great scrutiny and opposition. Explain this reason why, okay? Coming with the 5-mark question, because regulating and damming rivers. Now, what you are doing, there is a natural flow of river. Okay, you are just hindering it by making regulations dams, okay, regulation chambers, stopping the river water, collecting the river water, okay. Now you are affecting the natural flow. When you are doing that, like if water is moving from this place and you stop it, so along with the water, the sediments also get deposited over that region. So it leads to poor sediments flow and excessive sedimentation at the bottom of reservoir. What happened? That sediments which eventually flows with the river and mix with the ocean started getting deposited over there. Now, if the sediments are depositing on the river bed, it will reduce the depth of it. Okay, sediments gather over in this region, it will reduce the depth of that region, and the bottom, it will settle in the bottom of the reservoir. Now what will happen? This will result in rockier stream, and this rockier stream beds will definitely affect the habitat of aquatic life. Okay, it will affect the habitat of the aquatic life. Dams also fragment rivers, making it difficult for aquatic fauna to migrate, especially during the time of spawning. So basically, they migrate it according to the season. They migrate it according to spawning time. Okay, this will make it difficult. The dams have triggered floods. Do you know that dams was made to regularize what? Floods in India. But this has become one of the reason for floods in India. Why? Because of sedimentation in the reservoirs. What happened? Now this is the river bed. Okay, and this is the dam made across that region. Now when the river flows, okay, the sediments started getting deposited in this region because it is hindered by the construction of them. Okay, now it reduced the depth of the river. It reduced the depth of the river. The same river which was flowing in its area now getting what? Now getting over flooded because it has no left space. Okay, so it will do what? During the time when there is heavy rains, it will come out to the floodplains. It will come out to the floodplain area, causing disastrous impact. What we are facing right now in the region because of cloudburst, right now in the region of Punjab, Haryana, UP, Uttarakhand particularly. Okay, so this is it. I hope you get this fourth point also. Moving to the last one, multi-purpose project induced earthquake. It caused waterborne diseases and led to pollution, resulting the excessive use of water, because when dams were made, it became easier for the industries to get water. Okay, urbanization, that is day by day increasing, left out their waste directly into the rivers, causing excessive pollution in that region. Okay, so this multi-purpose project, which is very good, but it also creates what? It also creates opposition by the people due to these reasons. Okay, I want to add one more point here, because whenever this multi-purpose projects has been made, the society living there need to relocate their region because their lands are being taken by these project makers. Okay, so relocation, change in their social landscape is also one of the effect of it. But these dams are considered as temples of modern India. Why? Now, see, these two questions are just opposite to each other, opposite poles to each other, but very, very important. Okay, so why they are considered as temples of modern India? So who said this statement? It was given by our first Prime Minister, that is Jawaharlal Nehru. I already told you this was because he considered that these dams can give a good boost to our economy. Okay, now why? What should be the points? So basically, they integrate the development of agriculture and the village economy. We know that India is an agriculture dominant nation, and for that irrigation, for that agriculture, we need good irrigation. When the lands will be irrigated good, they have the capacity for more crop production and will boost the village economy. Hence, they integrated with the development of agriculture and rapid industrialization that will eventually leads to urban economy also. How? Because they provide water for irrigation, they provide water for electricity generation. Okay, they provide water supply for domestic and industries, helps in flood control, very important reason. They provides recreation, helps in inland navigation, very, very important. Inland water navigation we can do through it. And useful for fish breeding, because fishery is also adding so much to our Indian economy. So this is the reason why dams are considered to be as temples of India. So learn this answer. We have so many points so that you can use it in your exams and score full 5 marks in this question. Okay. Again, I am telling you, water resource is a very important chapter, beta. It has a huge weightage. Okay, good questions, and the questions are so general that we see in our daily life. Okay, hence it is not something like history that we are mugging up again and again. If you read this chapter once thoroughly, it is enough for your exam preparation. Question number 23. Again, I have taken this from water resource because this chapter is important. What do you understand by Palar Pani? Now see, I could ask you the question straightforward, but I wanted you to understand that there is a word which is referred as Palar Pani. Okay, it is a traditional word used for rainwater harvesting in the regions of Rajasthan. Okay, so if you are aware of this word, only then you could answer the question. If I would have asked you directly that, give me a brief description about the rainwater harvesting system in Rajasthan, you would have done it very easily. So it is the high time we should also check our competency based questions. So how do you understand about Palar Pani? How Palar Pani is collected? Now what happened? Basically in the semi-arid and arid region of Rajasthan, which semi-arid and arid regions of Rajasthan, particularly Bikaner, Falodi, Barmer, basically all the houses of Rajasthan traditionally have this rainwater storage system. How? What they have done, there is a house construction. Under their house, they have a large room, okay? Basically, we can consider it as a room under their house, okay? So, they have a large room which is a tank particularly, okay? Hollow space, a tank, a big room-like structure. The tank are the part of well-developed rooftop rainwater harvesting. For an example, this is the house in Rajasthan. So, under their house, they will construct a tank. They will construct a dam. Whenever there is rain, okay, whenever there is rain, so from this sloping roof, okay, from this sloping roof, when water is coming, it is collected with the help of pipe. See, it is collected with the help of pipe. Rain falling on the rooftop travel through this pipe. It is traveling through this pipe and can be then stored in this underground tank. And do you know that many filters are like attached with this pipe and even at the entry of tank, so that they can reduce the unwanted material in the water. And one more important thing that you need to keep in your mind, that the first spell of rain is usually not connected, because we know that it is associated with acid rain. Okay, so this is how subsequently they are collecting all the rain showers in this tank and using it later when required. So this is very good, particularly in semi-arid and arid region, and this is what is known as Palar Pani. And how it is collected, we just got to know this. Okay, again consider it as a story and learn it one by one. Now I am going to tell you the most important topics of water resource. The first one here itself is multi-purpose river projects. You need to pay attention that you will be discussing about the positives of multi-purpose projects and as well as the negatives. However, by the last questions, we have completed both these. Then, moving with rainwater harvest system in ancient times, okay, rainwater harvesting system in present time, like they are talking about Palar Pani, and the last and the most important, map work. Basically, there is a map work of the list of dams, okay, list of dams on river given in this chapter. Just mark this, because I am pretty sure that one question will definitely come from this, okay. So if you want to just score this 1 mark, don't miss this map work from water resource. We are completed with the third chapter of geography as well, and I know these 3 chapters are going to come in your half yearly examination. Moving with the next and the last step of our preparation, that is economics, and the last task of the day. Okay, by this complete video, you are going to complete your history, geography, civics and economics, coming towards the first chapter of economics. Question number 24, that is, why do we use averages, and are there any limitations to use it? Illustrate with the help of example related to development. Now see, this question is divided into 3 questions. Hence, we need to keep in mind that first what they have asked you is, why do we use averages? Okay, so you are using it in maths also. Average, why do we use average? First we need to write that we use average when we have a huge data. Okay, we have a huge data over here. So now, what is average income? Basically, average income is the total income of the country that is divided by its total population. It is also known as per capita income. It is also known as what? Per capita income, that is PCI. So, it is total income of the country divided by total population. Why do we use it? We use it to compare the development of different countries. Get my point? Different countries. Okay. Now, moving to the next one. Question is there any limitation to its use? Yes, we already learned it in my one-shot explanation video that yes, there is a limitation that it is used for comparison but it hides disparities. For an example, there is a country China. Okay, there is a country China and there is a country Japan. We know that this country has more population. Okay, however, this country has very less population. If we are going to compare both these countries on the basis of average, do you think that it will give you an appropriate data? No, not at all, because there is a huge difference between the population of the country. Okay, so this will not be possible. Now, read the third type of the question. It says that illustrate this with the help of your example related to development. Now, see how you will frame it. You will choose the example. Okay, choose the example. There is a country A. There is a country A, because this is given in your NCERT book also. There is a country B. 5 residents. Okay, how many residents? 3 and 4, 5. 5 residents are living in country A and B both. If we talk about both these countries separately, we see that in country A, the first citizen earns 10,200 rupees. Okay. However, the second citizen earns 9,800 rupees. Get my point? Third citizen earns 10,500, 9,500, and the next one earns the 10,000. Okay. If we go to country B, we see that the first citizen is earning 500 rupees. Second is also earning the same. Third is, this is possible, this can be possible. Okay. Fourth also 500. However, the last one is earning 48,000. Okay. Now you calculated the average income of both the countries. The sum total of this is 50,000. You have divided the total income of the country with its total population. That means 50,000 divided by 5, you will get 10,000 here. Okay, you will get what? 10,000. Now you did the same with the country B. You got the total 50,000 divided by its population. Again, the average income becomes 10,000. But do you think that in the country B, everyone is earning an average amount of 10,000 in their income? No. So conclude this answer for this example that not everyone has the same average income, and we can conclude it with the country A and country B. In country A, average income of all the citizens are quietly same. However, the same case is not found in country B. Hence, we can say that average income are good for comparison, but it hides disparities. Okay. Get my point? So illustrate it somewhere like this. You can get full marks. Moving to the next important question of the chapter development. Like, I want to tell you that the chapter is so short. Okay, short, easy, scoring chapter, and most probably the last topic, that is sustainability of development. It can be asked as a case-based question to you. Okay, so we should focus on this, some questions from this chapter. To secure full marks, we can't leave this chapter. Okay, what does HDI stands for? So first line, what does HDI stands for? Okay, explain the main criteria of measuring the HDI according to UNDP report. So basically, HDI stands for Human Development Index. Now frame it in a point. I have just given you bullet points. This is published by UNDP, that is United Nations Development Program. Okay, what is the criteria? The main question here is, what is the criteria used by UNDP to present HDI or HDR, that is Human Development Index? So the three criteria are education level, health status and per capita income. Okay, education level, health status and per capita income. In this list of Human Development Index, total 193 countries are included, and do you know India rank is 134 in this. Okay, so this is how we have completed with the HDI. I want to give you quick important topics from this chapter. Different people have different developmental goals. Like right now, your development goal is to secure full marks in your SST exam, and my goal is to get covered, to make sure that I am providing you enough resources for this. Okay, so different people have different developmental goals. But we also know that other than income, there are mixed of goals required. Okay, there are mixed of goals required. This is very important question, 3-marker question come in your exam, like you need respect, freedom, security, etc. Okay, then we need to talk about World Development Report. If you don't know, this World Development Report has taken average income as its criteria. Okay, and then later on we find that it is good for comparisons. We know that it is good for comparison, but what it hides is disparity. Okay, so next what we have done, choosing the other parameters of education and health. Then we moved to Human Development Report, which present a index, that is Human Development Index, and the last topic of this chapter, that is sustainability of development. So this we have read in resource and development also, that using the resources in such a way that we are going to secure it for the future generation, that is sustainability of development. They have given you two cases, one is of groundwater depletion and the other is crude oil depletion, and both this will come in case-based study. So read it thoroughly, just practice as much as questions you can figure out from that particular topic. So we are moving to the next chapter, that is sectors of Indian economy, and do you know this is the last chapter in our sequence. We have started with question number 1 and we are moving with question number 26. How smartly you have covered 25 questions in a single day. This question, I bet you, is going to come in your exam. Why is the rise of tertiary sector in production? Okay, so basically there are some sectors of production in Indian economy. Okay, sectors of production in economy. The 3 sectors are primary sector, the secondary sector, and then the tertiary sector. Okay, the primary sector deals with, okay, see here, the primary sector deals with the production from natural resources. For an example, in agriculture we are using land, water. All the raw material here come from the nature. This is considered as a primary sector. After that, we have produced from the primary sector. For an example, we grow cotton on our land. Now this cotton will be converted to a cotton cloth, and that journey of conversion, that journey or transformation is considered as secondary resource. Now this cloth is prepared and we will just transport it to the different regions, and that transportation is a service. Okay, it is not creating any new resource, any new product, and this will be considered as a tertiary sector. Do you know that by the time India got independent, India is a primary, or what we can say, agriculture dominant nation. Still now it is. But in the initial times, 80% of our economy was dependent upon the primary sector. By the passing of some years, it was switched to secondary sector, and in some last few years, Focus my word, in last few years there is rising importance of tertiary sector, service sector. We right now are very much conscious about our education. We are very conscious about our healthcare facilities, right? We are just by a single click getting the groceries at our home, and this is all because of the rising importance of tertiary sector in Indian economy. So why? Now the question is why it is important, because it provides us all the basic services. I want to tell you that, keep the subheadings in mind. Point number 1, it provides us all the basic services like hospitals, education, post and telegraph. These are basically the responsibility of the government to do that. Like for an example, you're using various things for communication. Okay, you can choose it as post office. You can see the mobile we are using. Basically, if we talk about education, the basic services are only and only in service sector. Demand for the services such as transport, trade, storage is increasing day by day. Okay, and you know that if this will increase, it will eventually increase the demands of primary and secondary sector. In older times, what happened? They have the capacity to make so much of crops, but there was no trade facilities from the villages. There were no storage facility in the village town, but now it has been developed. As they have developed the tertiary sector, it will definitely lead to the growth of primary and secondary sector. Okay. Third point, demand for tourism now. In the older times, if we talk to our parents, they will tell us that we have not even visited so often like we are doing right now. Okay, they have not visited, like they were planning for some tours and trips in a year, and right now we wanted it every weekend. So tourism has so much grown, shopping sector has grown, private schools, private hospitals, and all this is because of the increase in the level of income. Okay, as the level of income will increase, you will rely more on service sectors. This is one of the point. And rapid growth of service sectors that are benefited from external demand like software industry, call center services, etc. This is very, very important, and the most important thing is liberalization. Now, what is liberalization? It is freedom of market. Like US company has a call center in India. So this is the result of liberalization. This liberalization as globalization created an environment that more services are provided to. Okay, these are the 5 reasons why is there rising importance of tertiary sector in production. Hope you are clear with this question. Beta, I am again telling you this. Take a snap of this in your mind, fit it in the mind, okay, and let it never go from your mind. Moving to the next one. Again, very important, a difference based question. Explain any 5 difference between organized sector and unorganized sector. This is also from sectors of economy. According to the functioning of company, this is one organized sector and one another is unorganized sector. We can by the name understand the difference between the two. For an example, in organized sector, the terms of employment are regular and the people here have assured work. What does it mean? That they are regularly having the income. It is not like that you have the work today, there is no work tomorrow, don't come. Okay, so basically, like for an example, a carpenter. Right, you hired a carpenter for your house furniture. Once you are done with it, you tell that person, don't come from tomorrow. So this is not done in organized sector. Okay, however, in unorganized sector, there is no guarantee of work. Okay, so first point we can remind as security of work. Get it? Now, they are registered under the government. All the industries as recognized as organized sectors are registered under the government. Unorganized sector, it is out of the control of government. The second thing we can say as control of government. Okay. Third, as they are registered under the government, they have to follow the rules and regulations by the government. Like for an example, government had made a taxation law. Okay, government had made employment benefit law. For an example, government had made a law that is for equal treatment in work lifestyle, okay, or pay scale, equal remuneration act, for an example, that men and women will be paid equal. So who will follow this law? Organized sector, and who are not going to strictly follow this will be unorganized sector. Okay, it has formal process, all the process are formal. For an example, leaves will be provided to the person, okay, in a formal manner. They will operate it according to the procedure. No such formal process will be provided to them. Okay, there is security of employment in organized sector. Fixed working hour will be there. Okay? If you are working extra sometime, extra payment will be given to you. You will be provided monthly leaves. Okay? Nothing as such will be provided here. Now add in your answer one more point, extra point, that is example. Okay? Example is person working 9 to 5 in an office. However, in this, person working in a tea stall. Will it be organized? No. So keep this 5 points in your mind when you are writing this answer, because this is very, very important. I just want to congratulate all of my students that you have completed the series of 27 important questions today. So we have completed this 27 important questions by today. If you are learning this, you are definitely getting 85 plus in your exam. Definitely. Okay, and if you are just reading all the important points here also, then I am definite with the 90 plus marks here. So also focus on the important topics I am telling you, like what are the different sectors, primary, secondary, tertiary. Importance of tertiary sector, we have done it today. Okay? Types of underemployment, a situation when a person wants to work, okay, but the person is unable to find the work. Getting my point? Or a person is working less than the potential. This is known as underemployment. How to create more employment in that situation? They will ask you particularly for remote areas. Okay? Then we will write a short note on MG Narega, scheme passed by government to provide guaranteed employment, and this was passed in the year 2005. Last but not the least, very, very important, the difference between organized and unorganized sector. We are completed with this. Your half yearlies are near and you need to work smart to get that. Right? You are at the end of the video. You have not still subscribed the Diksha Vedanta YouTube channel. It is the high time you should do that, because more such series are lined up for my dear students of class 10. All the best for your half yearly. We will be there throughout your journey till your final exams, and not final exams but till your result. So thank you very much for being the part of it.